Okay, hello everyone. We're going live. I'm here with Ripon Ray. For
Mhm,
basically today is we're doing a special session about universal credit. Now,
mhm.
Ripon is an expert in terms of advising people with their finance, especially people that are in debt. And I would just want to add that Ripton is a good friend of ours.
Mhm.
Know him for some time. He's a good friend of our drivers in terms of United Private Hire Drivers. So I'm just going to let Ripton introduce himself and tell us who he is and what he could do, what we're going to be talking about today.
Okay.
Ripton?
Thanks, Yasin. Yes, my name is Ripon. I have been giving advice in the world of debt, welfare rights, consumer protection for over 7 years now. I work for an advice center nearby that oversees quality debt advice provided by Citizens Advice Bureau all over London. And my current job, apart from giving advice, is really to make sure Citizen Advice Bureau advisors give quality advice. So the reason I decided to really kind of reach out to a broad range of communities prior to the coronavirus issue is because I saw, since introduction of austerity measures, I was seeing in front of me people can afford to pay their bills, people can afford to pay their rent, people can afford to pay council tax. So really problems are everywhere. So what's happening now as a result of this coronavirus endemic? We're seeing that the Tory government's structural system set prior to this problem is fragmented even more. So it's interesting to see how this current government deals with this coronavirus in the context of framework set post 2008 financial crisis.
Okay, yes, thank you for that. So let's just go back a bit. So I'm
Mhm.
one of the claimants against Uber back in 2015, me and James Farrar. We
Mhm.
filed a case against Uber. So in the UK, we have like three status. So you have like a self-employed. So let's say
Yeah,
I'm a plumber or an electrician.
yeah,
I'm self-employed.
yeah,
I decide what I want to charge. I could contract my work. So let's say I'm an electrician. I decide that I want to contract you out. Yeah.
yeah.
And you could join me like in terms of like I could get you to do the job for me. Yeah.
Yes.
I don't have no rights. Yeah. And then we
Mhm.
have like an employee status where you
Yeah,
have so many rights such as holiday pay, sick pay,
yeah,
paternity, maternity,
yeah.
and even now you get where you get pension and you get all these other kind of stuff like benefits. Yeah. But what
Yes.
we have in the UK, and it's been around for ages, is a limby worker, they call it. Okay. So
Mhm.
in our case, we filed a case in 2015 to decide what our
Yeah,
status was. And what the
absolutely.
judge ruled was we are a limby worker. Okay.
Mhm.
Now,
Yeah,
what that means as a limby worker, we're entitled to the minimum rate, minimum pay
basic.
per an
That's
hour
the
for
thing. Yes.
every hour we're logged on, and that's
Yeah.
after expenses. We're also
Mhm.
entitled to holiday pay and
Yeah.
trade union recognition. Okay,
Mhm.
so yeah, so in our case, which we won, Uber then
Mhm.
unfortunately decided to appeal. So in
Yeah.
2017, we won again in the appeal tribunal.
Yeah.
Then 2018, Uber appealed in the High Court and we
Yeah.
won again. Now,
Yes.
all it does is it just ensures, like, if Uber was to obey the law, it
Mhm.
means that we just get the basic, like, it just ensures that we're not being exploited. And
Yeah.
right now, I get drivers calling me day in, day out,
Mhm.
where they're basically earning next to nothing. Like, an average driver
Mhm.
right now is making about £30 just for working.
Yeah.
And it's not even worth going out there. But then again, we're at the same time the government classify us as key workers. Now, forget about what's happening today.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, one of the reasons why we filed this case is the
Mhm.
average Uber driver could be working anything from 60 to 70 hours,
Yeah.
making £5 an hour. We never had any rights, yeah, and
Mhm.
and this was down to lack of enforcement by the government,
Mhm.
where it was wrong, where people like myself are going into court and having to fight this lengthy
Yeah.
battle.
Yeah.
But I just want you to touch about what the government announced today in terms of the self-employment.
Yeah.
And a lot of questions that we get from drivers is
Yeah.
how could we benefit, like how could we sort of live, basically, more or less
Mhm.
live and survive in today's with what's happening out there? What would we do,
Mm.
especially if you have to go into isolation?
Yeah. I mean, a very good point, Yassi. Now, I'm not sure if you're clear. you are going to get the fruit. Okay, I'm not sure if you can see fruit of the
Yeah.
benefit from this government, not now, but in June. Yeah. So in other words, you have to wait until June in terms of what the money you can actually claim from the central government. You will do that by simple as this. You just have to contact HMRC and say what your shortfall is, depending upon what you've actually accumulated. So let's say, for example, if your current income is, let's say, £50, but before your income was like 150. So the shortfall you can claim from HMRC, but to get it from HMRC, whilst you can backdate it as far back as 1st of March up until, I suppose, June, you obviously have to have been registered with HMRC for last 3 years, although there are exemptions. And there's a pattern as to how much you have paid. And based on average of last 3 years, you can then claim it for that specific period that you've lost money due to coronavirus. But that's only if you're saying there is a genuine loss.
No, I understand, but my point here is
Yeah.
based on average. For me, let's say I'm driving right now, my average is very low because I'm being exploited. I'm working 70 hours. So does that mean what the government's saying today is they're gonna pay what I was getting paid? And the fact here is I'm earning below the minimum wage. Is that right or wrong?
I mean, when it comes to minimum wage, as you know, Yasin, the the criteria for self-employment, even in the context of universal credit, initially, government had a, what do you call it? By default, you had minimum income floor, which suggests that the expectation is you are working 35 hours a week and you're getting minimum salary as a result. So therefore, even if you claim UC, you won't be getting anything. So inevitably, that principle also applied as you being self-employed. And when you look at it, what the government has actually said, I'm not sure if you looked at the figure that the government said, the maximum you can actually get is 1,800 maximum per month from UC. That's actually, if you calculate it, that's actually way below the benefit cap that they have. They're currently, as it stands, the current benefit cap under universal credit is £442. And if you look at it, what they've offered you is actually something like £420. That's per week. That has to include your rent payment, your childcare cost, and your personal living, all those things combined. So whatever happens, the way things are going, I know there is going to be a great deal of unemployment anyway. And I've accepted that, because if you look at it, in the last week, there's been over 500,000 claimants trying to make a claim for universal credit, although many of them have not been successful because Department of Work and Pension system isn't accommodating in such setting that it can't cope with so many people. So naturally, a lot of people will lose out, as well as losing their jobs. But when it comes to poverty and self-employment, is inevitable, because from my own personal experience of seeing many, I can't say all, who are self-employed, many of them are unemployed, many of them are self-employed because they themselves feel that they can't do other types of jobs, other types of roles. So best way to fall back on is in self-employment. And then they find that, okay, once they're stuck in this role, it's impossible to leave. And then, of course, when you are here, you know, there are lots of burdens to think about. Burden of paying for your car, burden for paying for your petrol, burden for paying for your tax, burden for paying for council tax. In many boroughs in Britain, they expect that if you're self-employed, you pay the full buck for council tax. But in reality, they don't actually look at the reality of the financial situation of those who are self-employed.
Okay, I've got Alfie here. So Alfie is
Okay.
one of our organizer for Glasgow. So it'd be good to bring Alfie in. Alfie, if you could just quickly introduce yourself, who are you and what you're doing here today?
Alfie, PhD Glasgow branch. We've been trying our best to look after our members up here, speak to the council, speak to local insurance providers or nationwide insurance providers, and just see what really is our options. Is the work is dried up. There's no custom. We've been told now to stay indoors.
Yeah.
So we're all same boat essentially. We're all drivers, and we're all kind of making no money now. So what's our options?
So, I mean, when it comes to options, clearly, you need to find out what is it that you want in the end. If you're saying that you want money through the welfare system, you probably know what the government has said so far. First things first, the government has said that it will remove the minimum income floor. But it is only valid when it comes to minimum income floor if you have actually made a claim for universal credit. So you first have to make a claim, right? That's one thing. And in order to make a claim, let's say you do it today, you've done it, submitted your application, you will then have to wait for 5 weeks, 4 weeks assessment, and 1 more week, make sure that DWP has pressed the button and transferred money from its bank account to your account. So overall, that's why it ends up being 5 weeks. However, so yes, if you've lost your job, you need to top your income up through self-employment. As it stands now, you won't be able to claim new style employment support allowance, because that's only if you have contributed sufficient amount of national insurance, either as a worker or as an employee. Since you're not one of those, your option is, as currently the Chancellor has pointed out, you claim universal credit as a self-employed claimant, and then your income gets topped up that way. And any income that you've lost due to your lack of work, you can claim that by approaching HMRC, and the HMRC will assess the situation either in the last 2 years or 1 year or 3 years, and then you will get a backdated payment from when you've lost income.
Okay, so how do you claim universal credit? Like, what's the process? Come on, I'm just asking out there for drivers. How simple is it?
I mean, it's not actually very difficult, I must say. It is. All two of you are quite internet savvy. Seems that you are kind of like participating with me, knowing that you have a camera facing you. It should be really, really easy. So what you do, or you go on DWP's or government's website, or even just Google saying claim UC, and it should take you there anyway. It'll ask you zillions of questions. It takes about 45 minutes about who you are, what your situation is, what you want, what you don't want, and then the process will actually begin. Now, usually what you would have, if you have problem with writing, reading, or understanding, you may get support from National Citizen Advice. They've got a phone number. You can Google it. You should be able to get it. Now, they'll give you telephone advice. And you probably know this, Yasin. National Citizen Advice have received millions from the government to help individuals who are struggling financially. So they can help you on the phone. So that's one way. And then when it comes to you not being able to talk to them on the phone, you can always go to your Job Centre Plus, and there you can see a help to claim officer, who again is a representative of Citizen Advice Bureau, who can help you to open up a new claim. But on the whole, it is online. Everything's online. And once you made the claim, you then start the process rolling. And from then on, 5 weeks wait. And then after that, it will be every calendar month based.
Okay, so we got a question here. Is universal credit a loan we have to pay back?
Good question. The universal credit, it is not a loan. Universal credit is a benefit. It's a means-tested benefit, i.e., you have no savings, or well, you may have savings. If you have no savings, you can claim universal credit. If you have no capital, you can claim universal credit. Go ahead. You said okay. Are you there? Or shall I carry on?
So what's the saving that you're allowed? Like, what is the limit? Like, for what's the maximum saving that you can have in order to claim? Or
Good question again. Under UC, if you have savings below £6,000, £6,000 is ignored.
Mhm.
So if you have savings £6,000 or below, that saving is ignored. And if you have saving from 6,000 and 16,000, the government will count that amount. So let's say if you have £15,000, just to give an idea, £15,000. Out of £15,000, 6,000 will be ignored. So you have £9,000 they will take into consideration. So so then what you do, £9,000 divided by 250, yeah,
Mhm.
because every £250 you have on top of £6,000, they will
Okay.
reduce £4, roughly £4.50 from your benefit.
Okay. Let
But
me just quickly go.
above 6,000, 16,000, if you and your household has 16,000 or above savings, you will get nothing.
Okay. So let's just quickly go through the questions.
Sure.
I got another one here. Like, will we get payment without applying for it, or do we need to apply? That's just a quick from David Osborne.
Okay, so I'm not quite sure payment for what. If it's payment for advance payment, that is a loan. Yeah. So yeah, if it's payment for advance payment, yes, you can either do it through your online portal, or by talking to your work coach at your local job center plus. Whichever way it suits you, you can definitely do it. However, the issue with advance payment, yeah, is that once you get your first income coming through from your universal credit payment, they will deduct a bit for, I suppose, up to 12 months to recover advance payment that I think what he's saying as loan.
Okay. So we got another question here from Ifzal Hassan. So
Yeah.
if someone is already having, like, let's say someone is getting working tax credit, could they claim universal credit at the same time?
The answer to that is no, because universal credit is administered by, guess who? Let's play guess who. Who do you think is administered by?
HMRC.
No.
Oh,
Universal credit is administered by DWP,
yep.
and
Okay.
working tax credit and child tax credit are administered by whom? Go on.
Is that DWP as well, or is that HMRC?
HMRC.
Okay. Okay. So what's
Now,
the difference between the two, like DWP and HMRC?
I mean, Department of Work and Pension,
Okay.
it really deals with your benefit linked with, I suppose, job seekers allowance, employment
Mhm.
support allowance.
Mhm.
So that, yeah, work related stuff. Now, work tax credits are really more in link with tax. I mean, don't ask me exactly why, but it's partly because they look at your kind of tax returns, tax related stuff, and then they'll calculate it to see how much you should be getting in relation to two things, though, in the context of old benefit. So when it comes to old style benefit, old ones, let's say for job seekers allowance, employment support allowance, you apply with DWP, but for child tax credit, so anything tax related, tax credit, i.e. working tax credit or child tax credit, you will actually make a claim with HMRC, and HMRC will assess based on your overall circumstance, i.e. your annual return, annually on average how much you earn, and based on that they will calculate how much you should be getting annually, and then they divide it accordingly to make sure you get it every 2 weeks or every monthly, and that's how they work out with working tax credit. Now the difference between the old type of benefit and the new one is that instead of you having to deal with HMRC, you will solely deal with DWP. I guess some might say this part is quite good, where you have in the past so many departments are involved with councils, housing benefit, and council tax, right? With tax credits, child tax credit or working tax credit, dealt with HMRC. And DWP deals with your job seekers allowance, employment support allowance, and all that stuff. So I suppose the good aspects of universal credit is that it brings in a number of things into one. So that one good thing. I'm not sure if I'm answering your question, but the difference ultimately is that old system incorporates working tax credit under HMRC. Now, new system, working tax element is included under DWP and is administered by DWP.
Okay.
Is that clear, or did I make it difficult for you?
No, that's clear, but I'm sorry. I'm just going to go through these questions as they pop up. This is a really important question because we actually represent. Well, if you look at the private hire industry, 96% of them come from the BME community, and bear in mind a lot of them have migrant status and stuff like that. So one of the questions we got here is from Hamid Ijaz is, as a self-employed private hire driver who has a visa condition, so he's not allowed no right to public fund. Is he eligible to any benefit? Bear in mind, he's here to work and he's happy to work, but right now he's, because of what's happening, what is there for him and his family?
Because now, well, obviously, there are a couple of things you need to meet when it comes to those who have no recourse to public fund are, I'm afraid, won't be receiving much at all. That's the whole purpose of their, I suppose, status, is that they're not entitled to recourse. So recourse means getting support for job seekers allowance, employment support allowance, and all those things. You can't get that. However, he might be married, isn't he? If he's married, his wife might be getting other types of benefits. And her wife also may be getting benefits in relation to, I don't know, child as well. I'm not sure if she's getting anything towards her home. She needs to think about that, or whether the home is a mortgage. That is a different bowl of fish. But currently, as it stands, the way things are, if it's no recourse to public funds, there is no recourse to public funds.
Okay. So going back onto your question, when you mentioned about the saving, we've got a question here from Wasim about, like, when we talk about the saving in order to apply. Let's say you got like heavy, like you got credit cards or loans. Like, could you offset that against the balance, or how does it work?
What do you mean?
Like
savings and credit cards are two separate things, though.
So let's say you got a credit card where you owe £5,000, for example. Yeah. At the same time, you do have some savings, but does it make any difference to your circumstances or no?
No, you have to treat two different things. Saving is the money you've got, the capital you have. So that, and if you have it in your bank account or wherever it is, you declare that. If not, the government will come back and maybe prosecute you or recover the money. They'll say overpayment of benefits. Can you please have the money back, please? And if there is dishonesty involved, potential fraud case. However, no, when it comes to loans and credit cards, they are not savings, they are debts.
Okay, next question from David. What about expenses? So most would be bankrupt before receiving anything. So what happens if you got a high amount of expenses? I don't really understand what David sort of means, but it's just.
Well, I mean, that's a statement, isn't it? I mean, I kind of accepted personally in the context of debt advice world that there is going to be an increase in insolvency numbers. So in other words, anyone thinking of going bankrupt, it's inevitable. So if you are a sole trader and creditors are after you, you can afford to pay your bills, you're going to have to think about making drastic decisions. One of them is to really kind of go bankrupt, to write off thousands of loans, thousands of pounds of loan that you are unable to afford to pay, or creditors are after you left, right, and center. How do you kill those debts? One of the way to do it is going through insolvency process or bankruptcy process, and that's inevitable. And I remember when I was giving advice post financial crisis, there was thousands of people thinking of ways to write off the debt because their income has rocketed down, the expenses are so high, creditor is still chasing them for the money, but there is no goods to pay the creditors. So how do you deal with it and move on with your life? One of the options is bankruptcy. So I can completely understand why this gentleman is thinking about bankruptcy. It makes sense.
Okay, so we got quite a few questions. Bear in mind, like a lot of drivers, they have finance on their cars or loans on their cars. So
Yeah.
that's like bearing in mind, like what do they do right now because they cannot afford to pay the finance on their cars or the loans taken. So what would you advise to them guys?
I mean, interestingly enough, actually, when it comes to finances or credit card or loan, I mean, those that provide such services in the context of money, they are regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority. So I've got a quote to share from the Financial Conduct Authority about payment. Yeah, I know it talks about it talks about mortgage repossessions, but the similar rule may apply because I've read other things to do with loans and credit cards and stuff like that, where the FCA, the Financial Conduct Authority, the regulator of anyone that provides consumer and money products. This is what it says. It's important to remember that you still owe the amount that you don't pay as a result of payment holiday. Payment holiday, I know we're talking about in the context of mortgage, whereby you get a breathing space for 3 months. However, interest will continue to be charged on the amount you owe. This means that at the end of the payment holiday, you have to make the missed payments. There will be various options for doing this. For example, increasing your monthly payment slightly, or by adding a short extension of your term. Your lender will be able to explain to you what option it offers. So really, contractually know that you're bound to pay, but can the fairness prevail in this case? Because it's no fault of yours that you are in this situation. It's the fault of the environment, fault of the setting. So I would say the best advice from me would be to go and talk to the provider of your hire purchase car.
Okay. Next question we got here is regarding self-employment expenses. So let's say you got to report your expenses. So do you have to report what your expenses are every month for universal credit, or like what you're making?
Yeah,
I know, absolutely. How does that work?
I know you guys, if you are thinking about tax return, you're thinking about annual tax return, but I think you probably kind of show it every 6 months. Is that right? I mean, I could be wrong, but this is based on what I know, but I understand that's what you have to do. However, with universal credit, you should declare your expenses every month. Whenever there's a change, you have to. Because universal credit is calculated every month in arrears. So if you submit your, let's say, income this month, don't forget, it's net we're talking about. We're not talking about your, all other expenses. This month, then the following month, you will get what you meant to be getting this month on the following month. So yes, you have to show it because universal credit's calculation is based on monthly.
Okay. One more question we got again. I know the answer, but I'll let you answer it. So let's say you got a driver that could they like get an 80% bailout plus claim for universal credit for nil income based on what their tax return is?
I mean, in my argument is you could, because naturally, if there has been a genuine loss and loss caused by Corona, and you can demonstrate that, and that's why we look at your past history. And Chancellor pointed out, we need to see your income in the last 3 months, if you've been working in the last 3 months, or whichever is possible, so long you have a pattern in paying your tax, and there's been a loss, you should be able to claim it as far back as 1st of March 2020, because inevitably, I mean, a lot of people have lost their business, and the pattern in your salary or income will show. Yes, you should be able to it if there is a genuine case whereby you have lost your income and universal credit is not covering.
Okay, so another question from Jalal Ahmed. Assalamu alaikum, brother. Thank you for watching us today. So question from Jalal is, can I come out of universal credit and join back to working tax credit? So we've got a lot of drivers are actually claiming working tax credit based on low income and child tax credit. So how does that work? So when you got the universal credit and we got the child tax credit and working tax credit, so what's
Now, if you claim universal credit, you moved on to new benefits.
Okay.
Legacy benefits are old benefits. Working tax credit, child tax credit, job seekers allowance, housing benefit. Well, housing benefit is an exemption. All those things have been phased out. Yeah. So once you move on to universal credit, you can't go back. That's the whole point. So yeah, so there are so many ways of going into universal credit. Naturally, if you're a new claimant, as most of us will be, you will claim universal credit, then you will never see the face of working tax credit and child tax credit, because universal credit incorporates your work element, incorporates your child element. Don't forget, childcare, child cost is included. So no, you won't be able to go back. And if you are currently on working tax credit and child tax credit or child tax credit, and you make a claim for UC, both tax credits will stop.
Okay. I think we've got some more questions here. So we've got. Let's just. I think it's just easier if I go through the question one by one. And if you're watching this, right, we're gonna go through all the questions. I'm not in a rush, and I'm sure Ripton's not in a rush, but we're gonna cover all these questions. Keep answer if just bear with us, because I got loads of comment. In the meantime, if you're watching this, drivers, could you please share the link to all the drivers on the WhatsApp group, and if you're in any Facebook group, please share the link. The more people that's watching this is very important information, and we're lucky to have Ripon here today. So let's just, next question is from Kadir. Yeah, is if you're self-employed, is there a self-employed grant that you can receive? So yeah, how does that affect if you're receiving working tax credit and child tax credit?
Now, if you remember, the working tax credit and child tax credit, well, again, it's child tax credit and working tax credit is a legacy benefit. Yeah, old benefit. Yeah. So if you're getting those things, you don't even need to think about universal credit. Forget about universal credit. Yeah. They're two separate things. Now, when it comes to grant, is when you have lost your income, isn't it? Grant is when you've lost your income, you need to top your income up. Yeah. And based on what the Chancellor have said at 5 p.m., it's where you can claim it. You have to claim in June. You can backdate it as far back as 1st of March because you've lost out on your income. So even though if you're on working tax credit and you've lost out on your income, you can apply for the grant to recover your losses. And that's what it is. But it doesn't mean you have to move to universal credit. And the other thing is, the Chancellor did mention last week, is that the government will increase working tax credit by £20 per week. So there's a presumption of increase, and that increase is going systematically, not just simply with tax credit, but also with job seekers allowance and employment support allowance, all other means tested benefit, because it's been established that as a result of the epidemic, a lot of people are struggling, and they are also finding things that are of necessary, the price of those things going up. So it needs to meet the demands of the grassroots individuals who are paying more for less goods.
Okay, so I'm just going to whiz through because we've got so many questions. Yeah, let's just go on to. We got Phil. Yeah. Thank you for joining us, Phil. So Phil's saying he's self-employed.
Okay.
He's already claiming working tax credit.
Yeah.
Is it best for him to apply for a business loan that they announce, or is it like what's his options right now?
No. Business interruption loan. I mean, that's I might get it wrong with wording. Now, when we talk about employers trying to get rid of, or employers to get, let me just get the quotes right. When employers are thinking of keeping their staff but paying 80%, they themselves could apply to HMRC to suspend you from working for a short period of time. And that suspension is, I suppose, compensated by employers getting money from HMRC. That's separate from, I guess, when self-employed are thinking. I'm not sure if I'm answering the question well. So we need to ask ourselves, in what context are we looking at? If it's about getting support as self-employed, there are a number of ways of getting support. One is, of course, the loss of income you can get through HMRC for self-employed. The other is, let's say, if we're talking about paying business rate or council tax even.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, so we got another question from Bina. So if we claim that grant for self-employed and started a different job, so let's say you were claiming self-employed and you then decided you become an employee, you start working for another company, or you left the trade. Does that mean they have to pay something back, or what happens with that?
So we're talking about self-employee changing to employee. So obviously, if there's a change of circumstance, i.e., from self-employed to self-employed, from employee, that's not a problem. But the question is, has there been a loss? You should always look at loss. And in this whole issue may have been a health crisis, but really, for most of us, it's a financial crisis.
Yep.
So you need to think about what financial losses have you incurred. If you're self-employed and you've seen that there's been a loss in your finances, then it's about ways to compensate your losses. So currently, Chancellor's proposal is that you can claim off your losses through HMRC from by June onward. And in the meantime, if you're struggling financially, you can claim universal credit to top your income up. However, if it still doesn't meet, you can apply for the grant with HMRC to recover your financial loss. It's all about compensating you for a loss that is not of your creation.
Okay, so we've got Christopher again. I like his screenshot. But anyway, Christopher, he got a question like, I couldn't pay my tax end of January. Yeah. So he set up a payment. But obviously, right now, we had a lot of drivers that need to do their self-tax, self-assessment, and they owe money. So what's their option? Like, how could they defer their payments right now?
I mean, I'm not a tax guy. The last night, James did it. He's a tax guy. I'm not saying that. However,
I think for everyone, like,
that's fine.
If
but
you
for you to do it, I know that I know HMRC when it comes to tax, they're quite funny, isn't it? If you don't pay it in time, you have to pay penalty. I know that. Yeah, you have to pay.
So everyone watching, we're gonna get Gary back on again. So if there's any tax-related questions, just hold. We're here. We want to be asking questions about benefits regarding universal credit.
All debt.
One more.
Or even fuel suppliers. Talk about fuel suppliers. Because obviously, a lot of folks are gonna have issues with paying bills left, right, and center. The question is, what the hell do you do? Do you see? So ask me about all those things. Of course, we can talk about tax. Sounds one thing. There are many more issues coming forward. The moment your income goes down the drain, that is it. Lots of problems will emerge. You might as well throw lots of questions at me. Doesn't matter where it's coming from. At least you got the answers.
Can I just ask, is it right? Because members have been asking me if they cancel their direct debits for car payments or for insurance or for whatever, is there going to be big repercussions from that, or should they wait and do it the legal way?
Well, actually, I've looked into this. I mean, the FCA said a couple of things around it. The FCA said, don't cancel it, because that would mean that you are avoiding paying. Best thing to do is contact your supplier and tell them about your situation, and you realize they probably will respond positively. So what you don't want to do is cancel it, but talk to them and get, I suppose, what you call a holiday, isn't it? A holiday for 3 months or whatever period it is, and then take it from there. But no, don't cancel it. Let them let them press the button instead of you pressing the button. Because if you press the button, it means you are avoiding paying. But if you talk to them and then they press the button, they will know that your problems are caused by X, Y, and Z, and therefore they're using their discretion to allow you that period you need to protect yourself and your money, basically.
But if they don't reply, because I'm hearing stories of people contacting their the car suppliers or whatever, and people just aren't responding. They're ignoring them. And my wife even had it. She's not a driver, but they just took the money out her account today, and she's been asking for a payment delay and no reply, nothing, just a generic reply,
Yeah. So if they've done that and knowing that knowing as it is with the situation, I think what I would do is make a complaint. So every provider of financial services or even products, they have a complaint process. What I suggest you do is take a complaint further. If it's whereby she has obtained the car, but the money is provided by someone else, and she's providing the money to that company, maybe she needs to follow the complaint process first. And if it's not resolved and the money hasn't been returned back to her, knowing the circumstance, she might have to take it further. For example, she might have to take it to a dispute resolution. So in that context, we're talking about Financial Conduct Authority. It's dispute resolutions host, which is Financial Ombudsman Service.
Okay. Also, someone was asking about if they have a pension pot that can be accessed. Does that count as savings?
Actually, no. I mean, no. Only if you've taken out the money. And so in certain scenarios, you can see it either way. For example, in the context of bankruptcy, if you want to get the funds released, then it will be seen as savings. Otherwise, is not, from my point of view, I'm not talking about tax. I'm only talking about in the context of debt or money saved up for long term. I would say, from experience of giving advice or looking at UC, it's seen to be no, that's not savings. Unless we're talking about stocks and shares, that's something else. When it comes to pension, no.
Yeah. Okay. Obviously, right, we've got some more questions here as well. What if you were a self-employed courier driver for 4 years and then joined Uber only in February 2020? Are you eligible for the grant?
Very good question. Based on the wording of the Chancellor, it doesn't talk about whether you work for this company or that company. It talks about 3 years. Don't forget, when you're self-employed, it's really is about you and your work and your evidence of you working. Clearly, in this scenario, it doesn't matter if you work for Uber or some other competitor. Still, when it comes to your tax return, it's your tax return. So it's all about you and your evidence and you showing that you work consistently. And I think the way the gentleman suggested, he will have no problem whatsoever because he works through and through.
Yeah. So regardless of who you work for, it goes back your 3 years across your self-employed.
Absolutely. Because in the end, it's all about averaging it out, isn't it? 3 years, what's the average rate? And then for the purpose of UC, for example, where it's all about month, 12 months. So 3 years, add all together, divided by 3, you get an average year. And then to get monthly, what do? Average 1 year, divide that by 12, you're monthly. Easy.
That's great, thank you. Do you know roughly what how long we might be waiting to hear from the HMRC about this grant?
Well, if I was you, I would get straight with them. But obviously, any forms of payment, because I mean, don't get the Chancellor just kind of talked about it now, and they've spent a week and half or 2 just pulling their hair. So obviously, and partly because the world of self-employment and regulating from the point of view of tax, whereby any form of support is to be provided, it's tough because there are so many shades of self-employment. How do you harmonize it? According to the Chancellor, he said he harmonized 95%. So okay, fair on you, mate. But from your point of view, what was the question again?
It's disappeared.
Yeah.
It's gone off the top of my head because I'm looking at this next one now.
Oh, yeah, you should be able to. You need to harass. You need to harass HMRC. You need to contact HMRC and start inquiring because I don't think yet they have formulated a practical system. So we're waiting for that system to be developed, because currently as it stands, they're focusing on developing the system for employees. Yeah. So once they've done that, they will then move to self-employed, and then we'll take it from there. But do bear in mind that even with employees, it's not that the employee will be approaching HMRC and saying, look, my income has dropped. Can we have some money, please? I'm afraid it's the employer who needs to decide whether an employer firstly wants to keep this member, If the answer is yes, in the long term, then fine. Go and talk to HMRC and say, look, I want this bailout grant. If your employer doesn't do it, the employee has no leg to stand on. Okay. And of course, when it comes to self-employed, it's pretty much you have to use the initiative as self-employed individuals are used to doing.
So it's maybe a ruse on them to sort of just say, don't call us just now, we'll call you.
I agree. HMRC's telephone lines are busy, no doubt, just as all other public departments. DWP's departments definitely for sure. I'm not sure if you know, I give advice between 1 and 2 every day, weekday, and I've had a caller yesterday saying I've been on the phone trying to process my universal credit, but unfortunately I've not been able to get on the phone. I've been on the phone for so long, and that's partly because 500,000 people are trying to make the claim all at the same time within a week. So for DWP, that is not something they were expecting, knowing that the system is set up and designed to deal with austerity in times of austerity. Now we're talking about time quite opposite to austerity.
Yeah. Stuff. Thanks for that.
Yeah. Okay.
Another one. I'm a self-employed person. I'm receiving child tax credit. If I want to apply universal credit, is this going to affect my child tax credit? Or if my universal credit stops when I start working again, can I still receive the child tax credit?
Well, what people need to get used to by the fact that child tax credit is old benefit. Yeah. So old. Yeah. So currently, a lot of people are actually waiting to move from old benefit to new benefit. Yeah. Let me kind of judge that up a bit. Universal credit, let's imagine, is like a new model. Yeah. And child tax credit, working tax credit, job seekers allowance, all means tested other benefits are old benefit. So if you're thinking of claiming UC, your old benefit, i.e. child tax credit, will stop, and you cannot go back to child tax credit. However, as part of universal credit, you'll have child element. That will include, I suppose, it's a different way of saying child tax credit. So yeah.
There's an interesting one here. Thank you. In terms of the payment, the deferred payment plan with the car finance company, will that appear on your credit file as a missed payment or affect your credit report in any way?
Very good question. This is where I had to go back to the FCA. FCA's rule about credit reference. Here you go. Agreeing credit. Here your credit file. Now, as a policy, based on my understanding, what the government has said, also most of the regulators are saying, is that it should not. However, I might as well read it from your horse's mouth. Here you go. Your credit file, according to FCA anyway. Our guidance makes clear to firms that they should ensure that making a payment holiday, that's in the context of mortgage, they're much more severe, that it will not have a negative impact on the credit file. So that's that. That's what they're saying in practice. Now, it wouldn't surprise me that the same rule will apply with HP. And if I was you, I will talk to your lender or HP provider to get that clear. But it should not. And most regulators have said exactly the same thing. However, to make it clearer, do talk to the provider, because in the end, they physically have to change your report. They have to type something, and that information will go to Experian, Equifax, and Call Credit, which is now, I think, which is now called TransUnion. and they will then update their system. So really, if it's really contractually speaking, they all companies that provide HP or loans or whatever it is, as part of the term of the agreement, they will say, if you default, we have the right to write your default on your credit file. That's what they'll say. However, this default is not your creation. It is like an exception to general rule. So in that scenario, I think it is not, I suppose, fair. And as FCA has pointed out, it is not fair. So therefore, they shouldn't.
Okay, Ripon, thank you for that. So let's
Okay.
just go back because there's so much information here. Yeah, so let's just go back because we need to break it down because we're getting the same
Absolutely.
question being repeated. So let's just like imagine we're talking to a 5-year-old child. Sorry, not
Okay.
not in a wrong way, but it's just like it's so
If
much
I'm being
happening.
complicated, I apologize.
So let's go back. So let's say if I
Okay.
never been on any benefits, one, what do I
Okay.
need to do? What am I entitled to receive? When can I get it? And what about housing and children allowances? Are they separate or are they part of it? So
Okay. So it is, when you say, what can I get? You shouldn't be, you should say that right to the end. Any benefit advisor or welfare rights advisor will ask you, what is your current situation? Do you have health problems? You know, current government has said, if you are in isolation or if you've got any symptoms to do with coronavirus, you may be ill or deemed to be ill. So obviously, first thing is to identify what is the situation and also what is it that you want. So if you're ill, the benefit path is different from someone who's a standard job seeker. Do you see? Or even if you're working, work isn't paying enough, then that opens up a different path. So that's the first question is, are you ill or not? If you are ill, then you have to go through the illness path. Yeah. So you can currently as it stands, if you're an employee and you're ill and you can no longer work, that is one path. If you are self-employed and you can no longer work, and I suspect that's what you are saying, then the path would be, I guess, universal credit as a self-employed individual, because you can do that. You can get, being self-employed, and currently as it stands, there is no minimum income floor. That has been removed for 3 months. Temporarily that's been removed. So you should be able to claim UC as self-employed, and as part of that, you'll get your children's cost. In the past, it's called child tax credit. You're getting money to care for the child. And the UC, you'll be getting child element. Again, the same reasons. And UC will also cover your housing element. Previously, used to be housing benefit. I'm not sure if that's clear.
Can I just ask a question on top of that? Sorry if you've said it already. Does it take into consideration your partner's income?
Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. Universal credit. Universal credit, which is a means tested benefit. If you are going for means tested benefit, it will look at your income, your partner's income. You'll also look at your savings, and it will look at your overall house situation, i.e., children, rent that you need to pay. All those factors are taken into account to determine how much you should get per month, or whether you should be getting per month.
Thank you.
Great. Go on. Throw me no questions. I'm getting excited.
Okay, we've got another one here from Green Eye Raymond. Yeah, so I see that you put a few questions, Raymond. I'm not sure what. So the last one I got here is, he been in isolation since Sunday. What could he claim? Or could he claim?
I mean, the question would be: is he self-employed, or is he an employee, or is he a worker?
Self-employed.
Okay, so at least we have established, if you're self-employed, you can't really claim statutory sick pay. Forget that. You can't really claim New Style ESA. Again, you get that if you actually made contribution towards the national insurance as a worker or an employee. So forget that. So really, for him, If he can't work, he's sick. I mean, it might be that he has to apply for UC. So I suggest Google universal credit claim, and that will
Uh-huh.
keep the ball rolling. It should cover his housing benefit. It could cover his personal living cost. It could even cover his child cost if need be. But of course, we need to find out exactly what his position is now before we move on to moving forward.
He put a comment saying he's self-employed. So
Yeah. So there we go. So really, what we are talking about, if the income is low or no income is coming in, and there's no other avenues, then you do have to claim for UC. You can claim UC being self-employed. And as we heard from the Chancellor, that any losses that you have incurred, you can claim it through HMRC. And of course, the process of claiming can take a while. As we heard earlier on, it could take as far back as June because there are other things then to think about. And don't expect a bureaucracy to be quick and easy and fast.
okay, so we got one more here from
Okay.
Mohammed. So I am the only one who works. So he has 4 children and a wife. He's an Uber driver, currently on no benefits. He
Okay.
has health issues such as asthma, diabetes, high blood pressure,
Okay.
and currently he doesn't have any savings. So this is quite typical where, because I also suffer from diabetes, especially right now. Why any drivers, if you got diabetes, just don't go out and risk it because you're a high risk,
Okay.
especially coronavirus. You shouldn't be out there working. So when you're in that circumstances, when you got underlying health issues,
Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
can't go out there. So what advice is there for Mohammed?
Okay. So if there is underlying health issues, the question you'd be asking is that health issue affecting you doing things on a day-to-day basis? Yeah. So it's all about things that you can do or things that you can't do. For example, any forms of disability related benefit, yeah, if he's thinking, he has to think about, can he walk? Does he need support with his care? If he does, then we're talking about potential benefits related with disability. Believe it or not,
I mean,
just normal. But the issue is the impact as a result of you having diabetic? Does it stop you from breathing and you can't walk far, or anything else?
no, the problem you got right now is with people that are diabetic, they shouldn't be out there right
Yeah.
now because they're more likely
Okay.
because you have weak immune systems or your sugar levels. So if you catch this virus, you have, so basically you're at a high risk in terms of exposing yourself. Yeah.
Oh,
Now the
absolutely.
problem he wants to stay at home because his health comes first. He doesn't want to risk
Yeah.
it. So the problem is there's no source of income apart from the university credit. So
Well, I mean, according to government, there is nothing else, is there? I mean, yes, you can top it up to, if I remember, was it 1,800? He said, isn't it 1,800? I think, yeah. Well, that's the maximum you can get per month out of it, which include your childcare cost. It will include your rent. It include it for your personal living. That's one thing. Health is bad. He can also apply for non-means tested disability benefit. That's called personal independence payment. I'm not sure if you've heard of that. So you've got your means tested, but there's also non-means tested benefit. That is formerly used to be known as DLA, disability living allowance. If his health is severe, he may want to think about a personal independence payment, and that benefit is really for his care. If he needs any care or support due to his health, he may be able to apply for it. So I'll suggest what he does is go online, make a claim for personal independence payment. That payment is for those who are affected by disability.
yeah, no, sorry,
Are we there?
okay. So I'm still here. So your internet.
Okay.
Sorry. So here's a question from Bina. So I think we already Bina, we already covered this question. So if you want to watch the replay,
Oh, right.
Ripton already
Replay.
covered that up. So just watch the replay and you could get the answer for your question. It's already been covered. Okay, this is a good one here. So let's say if you're self-employed and you're also a student. can you still claim universal credit?
If you are a student, they're two separate things. Don't forget. So first thing is first is your status. What is your status? If you're a student, and there are a list of studies that you're doing that make, like, i.e., higher education university student doing, I don't know, politics or something, university full time, you cannot claim universal credit unless you're affected by disability. So there are exemptions. Then you're a person who are affected by disability and studying as though on the side, but that actually takes your time. But or if you have children, because universal credit covers child cost because you're looking after kids. So you can get it, but it's just that your personal income won't be included because you're getting student loan, for example. So it's dependent upon the specific scenario. If you are a student studying full time and getting income from student loans, that income from the form for the point of view of DWP was income. But your child's income is different, and that that obviously you'll get it regardless.
Okay, we've gone into an hour. We had over 100 viewers, and obviously people come and go, and we'll have a lot of drivers watching the replay. So we don't want to drag it, but how do people get hold of you if they want further advice or help?
The thing, actually, shall I be honest? I've got really two good web websites. One is called Online You Can. I think I gave it to you. That's a good one, actually. That's where where I set up a website and a campaign group where a lot of activists, professors, welfare rights advisors, debt advisors get together and talk about ways for us to campaign, both in the context of approaching, I don't know, MPs and parliamentary inquiries, and we want to submit our experiences without worrying about service level agreement, basically, where we get together, professionals get together and think about strategies we take to organize campaign around poverty. Especially in London, where poverty is rampaging high. So obviously, we use that expert knowledge and experience to, I suppose, encourage change. So Online You Can website is a good way to get in touch with me. The other way, the other website, which is all about my work, my personal work, where you can get template letters for advice, or articles that I've written around welfare reform and was on communitymoneymatters.com, but that website is under construction. So there you go. So just for now is onlineyoucan.org is better.
Yeah, no, that's all right. Thank you for joining us today.
That's great.
Stay here. I'm just going to have a quick chat with Alfie, and then if there's any further question, we bring you back on. So I'm just going to remove you from the screen. Just bear with me.
It is in permanently or what?
No, you're still here. You're still here. Just bear with me. Alfie.
Hi.
Okay, good to have you. So Alfie is a guy from Glasgow. So tell us what's happening in Glasgow, because we've got drivers from different part of the UK, like in terms of what UPHD is doing, and how this coronavirus is affecting drivers in Glasgow.
Yeah, I mean, drivers are still risking going out and working because they're left in a perilous position. They don't know what support they're going to be getting. Now we've obviously found out it's going to be June before we get any support. And, you know, the work is drying up. I myself have had to seek other forms of delivery work, trying to just, you know, find anything I can, because when I go out there to work, there's no work out there. So, but drivers are still making a little bit, but they're doing silly hours, risking their lives, risking their health to make ends meet. Obviously, all councils have shut down, so they've automatically given license extensions for their car, for their actual their driving license part as well for 3 months. The council are still answerable by email for now, but it's tough. And we're trying our best to assist everyone. Everyone's got different needs. We've got renters, we've got people that own their cars. Some renters are being a little bit more helpful than others. We've got some private hire taxi companies that are giving reduced radio rates. They're reviewing that on a weekly basis, reduced car rates for rentals as well. But people have got, insurance payments to make. They've got loan payments on cars to make as well, and we're all in different positions. I myself have just been in touch with my loan provider. I'm lucky I've got an electric car, so I get an interest-free loan up here. So they've put me through to something, and I can apply for a holiday. I'm not sure exactly how long they'll give me, but everybody obviously needs to contact their providers to figure out what their options are, because it's on an individual basis. Same with insurance as well, if they can work for a different courier company for deliveries or for food delivery or whatever that might be. So it's tough.
Yeah. So what's your I'm talking about UPAD members. So what are you actually doing for UPAD guys in Glasgow right now? Like I understand you and Barry are actually doing an awesome job. So just sort of quickly touch base on how you're helping members in Glasgow and why members should join UPAD.
Yeah, I mean, the main issue I would say people have had in the run-up to this is problems now with the licenses. We all have to do an SQA examination in order to gain our license. So we're helping out and assisting drivers in that way to get to just get on top of their training for that. But that's all been suspended now anyway. The main issue drivers have, the people that we have been helping, is renting and people paying for their radios, what their options are, what can they do. And we're being blunt. We're saying, well, look, there's not much work out there. We can't force your Uber or any provider to pay you money. We're doing our best. We've been writing to the main taxi providers to encourage them to help out in any way, shape or form that they can. Uber's completely ignored us. Everything we've tried to connect with them to help any drivers, they're not looking to respond in a way that we want. They have today sent out something that looks like they're trying to get some feedback on what they might want to do to help. But we're just on a day-by-day basis, we get different calls from different members that have got issues and they can't make any money. So we're trying our best to point them in the right direction to assist them on what options they have got to make some money, the limited disposal of companies that are making money at this time.
Okay, so how do you join UPHD if you want to join? If people watching that want to join us, what's the website link?
Very easy. It's just bottom of the screen here, www.uphd.org/join-us.
So everyone watching, if you haven't joined, join. There's a link there. Just join us. And there's also a subscribe button on our website. So if you want to stay up to date with the information like what's happening in the private hire industry, go onto our website and you could also subscribe to our newsletter. At the same time, you're welcome to like this post, share it with all the guys, and also like our Facebook page, so you're staying updated with all the information on what's happening in terms of of the industry and with what's happening around the coronavirus. But anyway, I'm gonna end it here. Thank you for joining us. If you still have any issues, just send us a message via Facebook and we'll get in contact with Ripton. We're going to try and have another meeting or a live session again. So before I end it, I'm just going to give Ripton 1 minute to come back on and just end it for all of us. And so I'll actually let Ripton do 1 minute to close this call. But just for those guys watching, we're doing another live video tomorrow at 3 p.m. UK time, and that's going to be for the international drivers, where we're going to have drivers from India, from Malaysia, talking about this coronavirus and how it's affecting drivers across the world. Yeah, so that'll be a good session. So I'm just going to bring in Ripton, and one of the things that he will I'll ask him to talk about is why should drivers join UPHD and how what's the purpose of being a member or Unity in terms of especially with the crisis right now with finance issues.
Now, we need to be very clear. Without joining a union, you'll find that you're isolated by yourself. What's interesting is that the current virus pandemic has brought a lot of communities together. Now, your interest could be served collectively. That's why it's crucial that you join a union that represents you. These union, private drivers, are one of the most dynamic ones that I know. I've seen quite a few. I would prefer a dynamic one that truly is grassroots. And if you want support from me, you can easily get it for free. onlineyoucan.org. I really hope you enjoyed what you've seen today. That's it, really.